Hello, friends. Today is exactly what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about friends. And I'm going to apologize if you hear background noise. I didn't grab my microphone for this one, and I am on the side of the road because that's just how I do it at Real Talks. I just pull over on the side of the road and thought pops in my head and I say, hey, I'm going to make it a Real Talk. So here we are. But anyways, earlier today I saw somebody that I haven't seen in I'd say about 10 years at least. And it's somebody that I came up with. It's a friend, somebody that I used to hang with all the time and just haven't seen him. We grew apart. I sat there and he kept on saying to me like, oh, where you been? You haven't called, you haven't done anything. And, I wanted to kind of look at him and be like, hey man, that works two ways. That's how communication works. Like you pick up the phone, I pick up the phone. Now, I'm not saying that what I did was right, but you can't really put it all on me. But the ball's in your court. But at the same time, I sat there and I thought about it after he walked away. And, we walked away cordially and we changed numbers and all that. And hopefully maybe we'll go out and have a drink. Neither one of us are drinkers. We're both alcoholics and we both quit drinking. But hopefully, we can go out and grab a root beer. But when I was a young man, my father, who was actually, now that I'm 50, I've realized my father was filled with wisdom and I probably should have listened to the things he was saying to me, but just pretty much like everybody else, it just went in one ear and right out the other. Thankfully, certain things definitely stuck, and that's why I'm bringing it up now. My father used to say to me when I would say, yeah, whatever, I'm going out hang out with my buddies, or I'm going to do this, or I totally ignored him and whatever, he would say to me, you think they're going to be there for the rest of your life, but they're not going to be. He said most of them will be gone in 5 years, some will be gone in 10, some may hang around for 20, but after that, you'll be on your own. You'll get some eventually, you'll get some new ones, but they won't be like the ones you grew up with. I said, nah, you don't know, Dad. My boys and me will be together forever, blah, blah. And for the most part, some of that was true. The dudes that I came up with, that I ran with, yeah, we all hung out into probably 30s, It's different. I moved away, and even when I came back, most of them, they had already, I was gone for like 10 years. I came back, they were in different lives. So wasn't their fault, wasn't my fault. We would hang out, we'd still go up, do things, but wasn't the same. My father was right, and the reason he was right, I don't know if this is what he meant, but the reason I think he was right is because of that reason I just gave. Like, you come into a learning that your experience is going to change, and you're going to do different things. Your path is going to lead you other ways. Now, this doesn't mean that it's the same for everybody, because I actually have friends that I came up with that still talk to the friends that we came up with. Like, they still hang out together, pretty much all the time, I'm sure, from what I see on their Facebook and everything. So, and I'm happy for that. Like, big shout out to JT, because JT, if he ever hears this, he's that guy. Like, he was always that guy that stayed in touch. I give him a lot of credit for that. But what I'm getting at is the thing is that, we all reach this point, and this can be in relationships too, family and everything like that, but that's a whole different Real Talk. Like, we get to a point where, just take, for instance, grade school. You're in grade school, and then you go to middle school or high school, and you go to a different high school than your friends go to. You're going to try to stay close, but it's not a guaranteed thing. I went to a different high school than most of the kids I came up with through 8th grade, and when I went to that new high school, I lost touch with all of them, and, I'd see them at parties or something like that, but we were never tight like that anymore. And that's going to happen. It's going to happen when you're in your 20s. You're going to hang out with a certain group of people, but then you're going to settle down, and it just happens, and they become a friend through association, kind of, or a friend through a long-lost friend. But, I've seen people that I know haven't seen each other 20, 30 years, and they go hang out, but I'm pretty sure they're not as tight as they once were. Experience. It's your experience. Everything changes. And the point of this whole message really is about not feeling guilty about that. Because when I saw my friend today, I don't think he was directly trying to make me feel guilty, but he was making remarks about in that way. And I get where he was coming from. I also get his attitude because I have the same exact attitude. We're massholes, But at the same time, like, he had brought up, well, you weren't around 10 years ago when this happened to me and blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I played nice guy. I was like, yeah, I get it, man. I'm sorry about that, But at the same time, he wasn't willing to see my side of that. My side is that, and this is what I mean about not feeling guilty, is that he was on a different level than me. I couldn't be on that level. At that time in my life, I couldn't be on the level he was on, because that would have messed up things in my experience. I couldn't be in the situations that he was in at that time, because that wouldn't have helped bring me to where I am right now. And thankfully I saw that. Now, that sounds egotistical. It may even sound selfish that I wasn't willing to help somebody else that was going through something and instead was only worried about my own well-being. But that's silly to think about that being selfish. Listen, I tried to help him out, but he decided to continue down that path. You can lead the horse to water. You don't literally have to pull out a cup and grab the water and let him sip off it. You just lead him there. I tried doing that. He didn't decide to come back from it, so I moved on. Now, he's beyond that now, and I'm happy for him. But he had to find out how to get beyond that on his own, because I have to say that's what it boils down to. Being an alcoholic myself, you have to hit rock bottom. The only way that you're going to come out of it is by hitting rock bottom on your own and by getting up on your own. Yeah, people can help you get up. They can lend a hand, but you got to make the first initial effort to actually push yourself up off the ground. And anybody that's a drug addict or an alcoholic knows exactly what I'm talking about. He got to that point, and thankfully he did. And I'm sure there were friends that were better friends than I that helped him get up. And I wasn't there for that. And he is right about that. So you do have to be careful. And that was early on in my experience of trying to, I was still drinking at that time too, but it was my experience that I had to get away from that situation. And I don't know if he understood it. Still don't know if he understands it. I don't know if it'll come up when we go out for root beers. It may, but I'll address it the way I'm addressing it with you guys. We cannot allow people, and this is going to sound like I'm an asshole, but we cannot allow people to keep bringing us down, because that's what happens, whether it be family or friends or, lovers or partners, whatever you want to call it. If you're trying to rise up in your vibrations and trying to have a different vibe altogether over what you're seeing your friends or family or loved ones having, and you decide that you can't do that anymore, they're going to call you out on it. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to say, whatever, don't talk to me. They're going to blah, blah, blah. But you have to understand that you have to do that in order to move on. You can't be stuck in that vibe. Now, I'm not saying that every single person I ran with had that bad vibe. Like, I am definitely to blame on some of these friends that I have not talked to in years. But again, that phone does work both ways. There are things that you grow out of. And the things that, like I said, my friends may not be involved in these things that are negative, but at the same time, I'm not willing to take that chance. And again, that sounds selfish, but you have to understand, and hopefully you do if you're listening to this, where I'm coming from. And that is that we cannot continue to allow people to put us in a situation that is going to bring our vibration, our growth down. Because when we do that, we don't level up, we level down, and we don't want to do that. I have some friends that I ran with that are doing really good for themselves, and I haven't talked to them, say, 5, 10, 15 years. I haven't a Facebook message here or there, hey, congratulations on your new kid or whatever, But at the same time, I have friends that are doing the same thing at 50 that they were doing at 15, and I can't be a part of that no more. And every once in a while, I'll see one of them, and they call me out on it. And I'll say, listen, man, I see where you're coming from. I'm sorry I wasn't at your daughter's wedding. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I couldn't be around that. Oh, you couldn't be around my daughter's wedding. It's not about not being around your daughter's wedding. It's about that I can't put myself back into that situation, back into that crowd. It has nothing to do directly with you. I know you feel that that's what I'm saying, but that isn't what it is. What it is that I can't put myself in a situation where I may fall back in the negative vibe. I can't do that. I don't expect you to understand. I hope that you do, and I hope that someday you come to this realization. But it's not against you. It's for me. And I know that sounds selfish. But if you are my friend and you still consider any kind of love for me, you will try to understand that. And some will, and some won't. And the ones that will, you gradually walk away from if you have to. And the ones that won't, do the same. There'll be more that don't than there is that do. The ones that do understand that, they're friends. Those are the people that you should try to rekindle that, because they were willing to accept it. The ones that don't, I'm not saying that their friendship wasn't honest and early on. If they're only willing to accept you for who you once were, but not who you've become, they're not friends anymore. That's just a simple, hard truth. And I know that from experience. When I quit drinking, my phone stopped ringing. I would have another friend be like, yo, why don't you go to homeboy's barbecue? I'd be like, I didn't even get an invite. What are you talking about? And then I'd call and be like, hey man, what's up? What did I do wrong? oh, well, man, you quit drinking and there's going to be a lot of booze and stuff there, so I didn't want you to have to go through that. I get what you're saying. I understand, that you were worried about me drinking, but you didn't even call and ask me. Like, you could have called and just been like, hey, how do you feel about it? And I'm not trying to sound like, like a whiny little baby over it. I'm just saying that my phone stopped ringing because they assumed that I had changed as a person because I decided to change living as the person I was by drinking. And they just didn't understand that all I did was level up in a way, but I never had a problem being around all the drinkers. I'm not the guy that quit drinking and went around preaching how everybody else has got to quit drinking. That's on you. You got to do that yourself. You got to fall down on your own, get back up on your own. But your phone stops ringing and you start realizing, okay, well, I quit drinking, and where did my support go? Well, what turned out was I was no longer fun. I had one friend that I still talk to from back then that still to this day says, he's like, you're such an asshole, man. I wish you'd start drinking again. And I thought I was a bigger asshole when I drank, but whatever. But that's a friend. That dude stuck with me, and he lets me know his opinion, and I appreciate that. And I'm not saying the dude that stopped calling me isn't a friend anymore. I'm saying that we changed. We both went to different levels. We both have different experiences now. It's not that you shouldn't reach out. If you feel as I do, because there are 4 dudes that I ran with constantly, and I haven't talked to a couple of them, 2 of them for I don't know how long. But if one of them reached out on Facebook and said, hey, I'm broke down or I need this, I'd probably do it. I pretty much guarantee I would do it because they did it for me at one time. Whether I've talked to them or not in 20 years, it wouldn't matter. There's more than just 4 of them. There's guys that I know. The only reason I have Facebook is to see if anybody's either died or getting married. And lately, it's been more people passing away, but that's the age. So, but I see on their lists and everything how they're doing, and I'm happy for them. And if they called me, I would do that. There are guys that 20, 30 years ago, if they had called me and said, hey, I need you to not ask me any questions, be downstairs in 5 minutes, ready to go, no questions asked. I would be down there in 3 minutes, ready to go, no questions asked, because those were my boys. But they're not my boys anymore. They're still my boys in heart, but our experiences have changed. It's just that I'm not at a place that I'm ready to put myself back on their experience, if that makes sense. But the ones that I will not call back, or the ones that I will not reach out to, are the ones that are still in that vibe where, oh, it ain't my fault, it's that guy's fault. It ain't my fault, it's her fault. It ain't my fault, it's the government's fault. It ain't my fault, it's this, that, and this is fault, but not mine. Nah, man, I moved above that level. Because I used to be the same way. I was Mr. Negativity. Nothing was my fault. It was everybody else's fault. But I learned, I was taught that I gotta take what I've done, accept it, allow it to humble me through forgiveness of myself, and move on. If they haven't got to that point yet, you trying to enter that situation and that experience is not going to help you. Even if you're trying to enter it so you can try to help them, it will not work. Trust me. If anything, that will lead to a worse situation where you will definitely never talk to them again. The only person that can help you is you. Now, I don't mean that generally, overall, blah, blah. I mean it when it comes down to making a decision that you're going to change your life. The only person that can do it is you. And until they come to that conclusion, it will not help your experience. And it may very well not help theirs. I pray that you all get what I was trying to say with this. I love you all. Walk in light.
Until next time, my friends, I ask all people everywhere to plant seeds of love, peace, joy, and oneness.